Welcome to bushwhacking. We're here in the garage today. We're going to be working on one of my chainsaws. It's an old MS200t from Stihl. Gotta love these old saws. They run hard and they're a little heavy, but they usually work pretty well for me. This one's been having an issue where I fire it up, it runs good, it idles fine. I go to rev it up and the thing acts like it hits a rev limiter. So we're gonna be, blowing this thing apart, trying to troubleshoot it and see what's wrong and hopefully fix it. All right, we're gonna start off by blowing this thing apart, pull the air filter. Looks nice and clean in there, which is good. My other one is dirty in there. I think I need to replace the filter. All right, I'll take off clutch cover. Shouldn't lose that nut. Alright, clutch looks good. Sprocket looks good. Spark plug's not loose. Pop the spark plug out, see what it looks like. There we go. So in case you didn't know, these chainsaw tools, I don't know what you call them. I call it a scrunch. Some people call it a key. That thing over there, whatever you want to call it. They actually work as spark plug removers. So they have quite a few different functions. This one's got the Torx on it. Check out that spark plug. Looks a little bit oiled up. Nothing crazy though. We could probably use a replacement. Running a Bosch in there. Alrighty, I'm gonna grab a 8mm. Pop this carb cover off. Looks like we're getting a little bit of sawdust running through there. It's not horrible though. Well, next we're going to buzz off this side cover real quick. It's got a few Torx screws in it. Some of them go into plastic, some of them go into metal, so just be aware of that. There's a fine thread and a coarse thread. All right, here we got the carburetor. Got a few little things we gotta deal with before we can pop it off. Just a little red piece in here. Needs to come out, and that one can kind of be a little bit of a pain when you're reassembling. This guy needs to come out. And it should just slide out after that. Keep the choke on while I'm doing some of this when I can, just to try to keep some of the debris out of there. Take your summer and winter tab, pull that guy out. It's a tiny little screw, so don't lose that. Pop that guy out. And we'll go ahead and get this little rubber insert, pop it out. That gives you a little bit more access. I will pop off these T20s on the side. Pop that guy off. This is what the linkage looks like in there. It can be a little confusing if you I've never done it before. Just gotta take pictures or video or whatever works for you. Maybe that'll help get this red guy off. carburetor. Take that fuel line off. Tie that down with the screwdriver. Make sure you're not losing parts that are falling off. There you go. Carb comes off just like that. You got that red lever that was in there. Here's the carburetor. Got this little metal piece that goes around the intake boot. Kind of helps keep it in place. Now that we got access, we're going to pop the handle off. Got 2 torque screws in the handle, one going into AV and one going into the top handle. Go ahead and pop the vent off. And then the only thing holding the handle on is going to be a torque screw. And the intake boot. You can kind of just pry on that and move it up. That'll pop off. Your impulse line right here, which I'm pretty sure I replaced this one. Fuel line here, and your breather here. The breather looks like it's got some cracks in, which I don't think really makes that much of a difference. I would like to check the piston, make sure that thing looks good. Like I said, the saw runs fine. It just won't rev past a certain point. So I'm just gonna take the whole thing apart, clean it up, check and see if I can't figure out anything that's, obviously wrong with it. Check the boot for any tears or anything like that. I don't think that's the problem, but might as well while we're in here. No, man, the piston looks freaking nice on this side, but it's not always where they get messed up. Pop off a couple of these torques on top. Pop off a couple of these torques on the bottom. I'm pretty curious to see what the piston looks like. I don't know if I've ever checked it on this guy. The compression felt good. So I don't know why it would be bad. It's just where we're at right here. We're taking the fuel tank off. There's the fuel tank. It's a little bit dirty, a little greasy in there, not too bad. Here's basically the heart of the saw. It's got an OEM cylinder on it. We'll pop the exhaust off real quick and see what the piston looks like. Yeah, it looks really nice in there. So if we look in here, we can see the piston moving up and down. No scoring. Rings look good, which makes me happy. Just Checking out the impulse line. I've had issues on other saws where the impulse line was pinched or cracked and was allowing air to come in. Pop the clutch off. Clutch is reverse thread. So righty loosey on that one. Sprocket looks good. Bearing looks good. Pop these side covers off as well. This thing's pretty dirty. You can see the steel cylinder on there. I think I paid $200 for this saw, so I can't really complain about that. Before I clean it up, I want to take this guy out, the ignition coil. See how that's looking. Get into those crevices in there. I have 2 Torx bolts with washers, so I gotta make sure I don't lose that. I should probably get that flywheel off too if I'm going to be doing this. Probably going to hit it with air first and then hit it with the brake clean. Got the flywheel off. You just want to be very careful. I give it a few taps on here with the hammer. If you have something that's soft like brass that'll fit on there, use that just because you don't want to mar up the crankshaft. Alright, I'm going to clean this guy up. I'll throw a spark plug back in, put some tissue in there and just hose the thing down with some brake clean. See if we can't clean it up a bit. Here's the before. Here's the after. Looks pretty good. I love brake clean. Hit the thumbs up. Give me a like if you guys are into brake clean too. Let me know what other kind of stuff you guys like to use to clean parts or saws or whatever it is. Yeah, brake clean does it for me. Just noticing the connector on here was a little bit loose, so I gave it a quick pinch and see if it gets on there a little better. No, it just doesn't want to go on there at all, which is awesome. Might have pinched it too much. We'll get it on though. Hopefully. There it goes. Oh yeah, it feels a lot better. Alright. A lot of times I like to check these AV mounts. They like to fail. You can see this one's got some cracking. The on and off. The kill buttons basically. The wire on that looks like it's getting a little frayed. Might be something to look into replacing. I've had to replace those before. Might just throw some shrink wrap on there, we'll see. replace that shrink wrap and see what happens. Alright, as I put everything back together, I'm going to clean it too. Probably use the brake clean again, clean it up before it goes back on, just so that everything's clean. From what I can see, you know, the impulse line looks pretty good. It's not super hard. I'm pretty sure I replaced this a couple years back when I got the saw. Everything looks to be okay so far. Piston and cylinder look good. The ignition coil looks good, especially now that it's all cleaned up. So we'll start getting this thing put back together. Nice little Stihl MS200t. Alright, we're going to start off by putting the ignition coil back in. Just want to make sure the lines are routed properly so nothing's getting pinched. I'll have to take this guy back off. So you got these two gold brass looking bolts. And those are going to hold the ignition coil on. Alright, we'll get these started by hand. Make sure you got the washers in there. Then we'll send them home with the impact. Don't over tighten them. Get them snug down. We'll get the spade connector back on there. We're gonna have to adjust it anyway for when we get the flywheel back on. Make sure we got the right gap between the coil and the magnets on the flywheel. And then there, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a keyway that the flywheel sets on right there. Kind of obvious, but just so you know. Get it on there. Righty-tighty on this one. And you should be able to spin that. And when those magnets go by, it should be not touching, but very close. I might even adjust this one a little bit more just to get it a little bit different angle. Wire connected back up, all good. All right, as you can see here, the shut-off wire is tore up pretty good. I got part of the insulation off. We got the wires kind of twisted back on. I should put some solder on there. I just don't have any solder available at the moment. And I just want to get this done, so twist it all up. We'll throw some shrink wrap on there and I'll let you know what it looks like when we're done. All right, here's our reman wire. Just put shrink wrap on it. Looks pretty good though. We'll throw that back on there. Should be protected for a little bit. See if it helps things. Got it back installed. We'll keep on keeping on. All right, we'll do another before and after. We got the fuel tank, so obviously all gunked up and nasty. Hit it with a brake clean, a little bit compressed air, and see what happens. All right, here's how we're looking after the fact. Pretty clean. Again, brake clean. I love it. It's so good. Just checking this out. The vent line has a few cracks in it, but it is a vent line, so I'm going to leave it for now since I don't have a replacement. But put that on the list, just so I don't get any contamination in there or anything. You can see a few cracks and stuff in there. And this is the fuel line. The fuel line still feels soft. Oh, just kidding. Jiminy Christmas, I wonder if it's pulling air. Look at that, look at all those cracks. This might have been the root of our issue here. Not liking that. Not liking that one bit. All right, we're gonna pop this fuel line out. Just use a screwdriver, pry it out. Probably gotta pull the filter off as well. Maybe we'll do that first. Use a little hook tool to get onto that hose. They can be a little tricky sometimes. Use a screwdriver and just pry this guy out. Here it comes. Alright, again, look at that. Cracked. It's definitely all the way through. This guy's cracked. I think this is probably why we're having issues. But we won't know until we replace it. Well, I found this guy. Came off of older saw. I might have replaced the fuel line on this saw before. Alright, this is the one we're going to go with. That's what I got. It was in my box of parts. Clean it up. Throw it in there. It's a little bit hard, but it's what we got. So it's what we're going to run with. Alright, I found this fuel line and breather tube for a 200T in my box of parts, so we'll throw it in and see if it works with this one. It's old, it's a little stiff, we'll see how it goes. There it goes. You can see the shape, it's got a little bit of a point right there, it sets right in there. Then we'll pull the tube out and throw the filter back on. Oh yeah, I think that'll be good. I don't know if I'll be able to pull it all the way, but these hook tools are magical for this kind of stuff. Alright, we're going to throw on the muffler. Should be a gasket between the muffler and the cylinder, but for whatever reason this one didn't have one on it and I don't have a replacement, so I'm just going to throw it back together for now so we can test it and see if it runs better, and we'll order up a muffler gasket here this afternoon. Be careful, you don't want to over tighten those bolts because it's an aluminum cylinder and they're very easy to strip. Right. So we got the muffler on. We're going to go ahead and put the fuel tank on. We're getting the fuel tank on. We got the impulse line right here, and it needs to be routed up through this hole right here, and it'll come in and connect to the handle right there. Same thing with these guys, you don't want to over torque them because you will strip them out. Gonna throw the spark plug in just so it's in there. NGK BPMR 7A. Same with spark plugs, don't want to over tighten them. These things strip out super easy, so be careful. Then we can kind of just get everything in its place so that it is where it needs to be. It's not in your way. All right, we're looking good. Did I mention how much I love brake clean? All right, I'll throw a couple trim pieces on here. These guys go like this, but again, we're going to clean them up before we throw them in. And show you what it looks like afterwards. All right, we got these trim pieces cleaned up. Those are going to sit right on here. Kind of get them where I think they need to be, which is right around here. Fits in just like that. And then this one fits in just like that. And it's got 1, 2, 3 bolts holding those on. Alright, those are the side covers installed. Now we're going to go ahead and install the oil drive gear. And that just goes right down on to the crankshaft. Just like that. Now we're going to put the intake boot back on. That'll just squeeze on right here. And you can kind of see how it lines up if you look inside the boot and on the cylinder itself. There's even a little tab in here. I don't know if you can see that, but the boot has a tab as well. It should just butt up right next to it. And now we're going to install the trim ring for the intake boot. This basically will seal it onto the cylinder. There you go. Alright, now we're going to install the handle. It's pretty straightforward. The hard part's going to be trying to fit the intake boot through here and get it all lined up and everything. Your fuel line and vent line are going to go through there. And then, yeah, we'll try and squeeze this guy in. It's really the only hard part. It's never easy. Run your vent and your fuel line through there. Hook up your impulse line, which the impulse line hooks right into here. So we'll see, maybe we'll do that one first. Alright, we got it in here. If anybody knows any tricks to that, please let me know. It's a pain in the ass. Got it, but it's just kind of annoying. We'll get this little trim ring on there that kind of holds the gasket in place. Alrighty, now we're going to install the carburetor. Try to get all the linkage hooked up. This can be a pain in the butt too, but we'll see how it goes. See how she goes. All right, I think we got everything where it needs to be. It's amazing there. We also installed the kill switch, which is this wire with the tab on it. Makes contact with that metal, and it, I believe it grounds out the ignition or something like that to keep it from sparking. Quick tip, make sure you put the handle on before you put this side cover on right here. Obviously this blocks the bolt. I'm an idiot, so I had to take it off and redo it, which is my favorite thing to do. So we'll get the handle fully seated on there. And yeah, we're gonna button up the carburetor. You can see everything's functioning properly. You gotta put this on so we can see if the choke and everything works, but yeah, for the most part, I think we're going to be good. It'll just be basic back plate, nuts, side cover on, peel it up, clean things, and let's see if it fires up and revs to the moon, because before it wasn't. I think that fuel line is going to help us out tremendously. So, all right, just like that, saw is put back together, cleaned up a bit. Hopefully it runs better. I think that fuel line was probably our issue. Alrighty, we got the choke on. Fire it up, see what happens.